Very good afternoon and welcome all folks who have made time for this webinar and joined us thus far, and I'm sure a few more are also along the way about to join. So here we are today this afternoon talking about this, in this webinar presented by Quintype on the latest Google helpful content update, September core update, and the product reviews updates. Right. So we've, of course, as most of you know, Quintype is a provider of SaaS suite of products for digital publishers, and we do conduct these webinars at almost every other month to have a view from industry experts on various topics of interest to the audience as part of the ecosystem that we are in. Having said that, without further ado, quick round of introductions. My name is Anupam Dasgupta. I work as VP Marketing with Quintype, and I have the pleasure of hosting Mr. Chandan Kumar, who is the head of audience growth at Indian Express Group Digital, and he's worked with the likes of NDTV2 in the past in the audience growth space. Without further ado, over to you, Chandan, to say a few more words about yourself.
Yes, so thank you, Anupam, and very good afternoon to all of you attendees. Right. So I am working in this space since close to 14 years, right? And where most of it I have spent with the Express Group only. Right? Midway, I spent some time with NDTV Group also to grow their audience base and all. Right? So there's a good amount of experience in terms of when I say there's a good amount of experience when I say that something is so. I spent a lot of information, right, and time by reading these algorithm updates, and we spoke together, right, me and Anupam. So why don't we should do a discussion, right? So we are here. So over to you, Anupam.
Sure, Chandan. We'll get started on the crux of the matter. So before we get into the updates, though, right? So for digital publishers or for news publishers, this entire view of search-led traffic, right? Of course, we all know it's important, but how do you look at it versus other sources, such as we've been reading? We know that social media-led traffic, for example, right? So how do you see it in the present situation and in the future coming up, the importance of search-led traffic versus other sources of traffic?
So definitely, Anupam, right? That's a very good point, right? So what is happening? If we speak with the data, right? In 2018, the internet population was 0.5, less than 0.5 billion, right? Which is in 2023, we're crossing 1 billion, right? So definitely the market is growing. The entire market ecosystem is growing. Now, again, this growth, right? The numbers that that we are seeing and the shift that we are seeing, right? So definitely search will be the dominant player in this space, right? In terms of acquisition. Now, so other platform like social media, like Facebook, right? So Facebook is a dominant player in social media space, right? And since the shift is happening from the content consumption as a textual content consumption to video content consumption, right? So most of the time people are spending most of the time people are spending on Facebook by consuming reels and videos, right? Not actual content, because the intent of the users are, if I want to read, a user want to read a content, right? We know what to search for, right? And we can go on internet and consume that content, right? It's not like the text is absolutely gone from Facebook, right? Or maybe Twitter, but definitely the reels and videos has surpassed the overall consumption behavior on these social media platforms, right? And specifically when I talk about this digital news business, right? News publisher business in India, right? So the pie from Facebook is on a lower side, while the search is continuously dominating the entire base, right? And definitely, and that is why Google is getting this understanding that we should also tweak our algorithms, our our search behavior and our entire their uh, results, right, in such a way that it should look like more helpful, more relevant, and towards the queries that people are searching for, right? So that is why the search is definitely going to dominate, right? And that is why these tweaks and these algorithm updates are happening, right, to make this more relevant to the user, because their algorithms, their bots is also understanding that there are some relevancy, some missing part, right, some feedback, some, they are closely watching this, right, on Twitter, on their internal forums, right, and then they on the basis of these feedback, their product product team's feedback, right, they are actually doing this activity.
Sure. So speaking of content and of audience, right? So when you think of audience, one is acquiring audience and two is developing the audience, right? Developing the audience by engaging them, by giving them the right content, right? So, and hence, my mind goes to the reference to, let's say, helpful content update, right? Authentic, original content. So how do you actually, what is your perspective on, let's say, engaging, nurturing the audience more with quality of content being a parameter, and with outcomes such as, let's say, subscription driven monetization models actually benefiting from that? So just wanted to hear your thoughts on that dimension.
Right. So basically what is happening, right? So number of updates in a financial year or maybe in a calendar year gone up drastically, right, in last 2-3 years, right? So if you actually see the data, right, in 2009 we used to get not more than 300 to 400 updates, right? Out of them only few are actually confirmed, while we are getting a lot of confirmed update, right? And according to one data where I read from in one article, which says that in 2020 there were 4,500 updates. That's a lot. In 2019 it was 3,200. So clearly the graph is growing, right? In 2021 and 22 or 2022 is already going on, right? And we are seeing a lot of changes happening. In September only, the difference between, so content helpful update closed, rollout completed on September 9, while September 22 core update came in on September 12, and then product review update on September 20, right? And both of the last two has been finished on September 26, right? So so after, means in the span of only 12 days, right, they are back to back 3 updates, right? Which speaks a lot about that how Google is actually making their research results more relevant, more focused, right? And they want to actually they must have seen some feedbacks, some understanding, and on the basis of this, right, they are doing this algorithm tweaks and all, right? So some data I have, it says that we just like a core update is a series of updates, right, which actually, so there are 15 core confirmed updates, right, 5 product review updates, 2 BERT updates, right, 2 page experience, and 1 local search update, right? This is data since last from 2019 till now, right? 2018 to 2019 till now, right? It says that that's a lot of happening, and Google engineers must have a tough time, right, by releasing these updates, and product people are having definitely a good time to actually analyze it and results and all. And also that's a very important understanding that whenever there's a there's a significant change in query, then only Google announce it on Twitter, on other forums, on their forums also, right? But not the every update, right? So this, I read somewhere that 3 to 5% query in US, if this gets impacted, then only they inform it, right? It may vary, right, place to place, region to region, right? But the overall scenario is Google wants to showcase their search results more relevant, right? And for this, they are actually tweaking their algorithm, right? And local search algorithm is also a part of it, and these are all related, right? So that nothing is, so even in content helpful update, if you actually see, right, if you actually see that this, they clearly said that, are you in line with the core and product review update, right? So are you in line with the update, right? You have, and there's a series of questions there, right, which actually says that what exactly core update says, sorry, content helpful update says, right? We can refer it to HCU, and PRU, the product review update, right? So HCU is actually a combination of the a list of roughly 35 to 38 questions, right, where core and product review update is a part of the entire signals, right? So they are taking signals from this also, right? So that's, so I'm saying that that's a series of things happening. The updates are happening because of the relevancy and the trust and the authority they are they want to actually build into the system, right? And that is why they are doing the entire
Sure.
shift.
So to a request to the audience, if you have any questions at any point of time, please feel free to type it in the Q&A window, and we would be glad to have Chandan's perspectives on that. So that said, interesting. What you really summarized just now is that it's a continuum. Basically, it's a continuous change of updates that keep happening. That said, when the helpful content update was going on, or it just got rolled out, you might as well have seen a lot of comments going on the internet saying that, hey, we didn't feel the update at all, right? What happened? Did the update at all come, or it was like, what happened? We didn't even realize that a content update came in. So, specifically, how do you react to that kind of a thought which floated across? At least I came across quite a few comments on that same note.
See, so what happens, right? And definitely this is true, right? Most of the site has not seen it, and most of the, even websites are still doing these practices, right? There are some practices what SEO teams suggest, right? That this should be done, that shouldn't be done, right? Kind of, right? So overall point is that from Google's lenses, right? Google actually said this to SEOs and webmasters and website owners to get focused that what you're doing. That is what, right? And according to one data, which says that the moment this gets actually announced, right, hundreds and thousands of the article and internet is flooded, and social media posts are flooded with this helpful content update, right? And there are roughly, after this term coined, right, after this, right, more than 180,000 posts, right, around 180,000 posts. Google shows that these many people actually contributed to helpful content update, right? So the point is that we as an SEO should be aware of the and critically deal with the info, because the information that is written on Google Doc is not very I would say they try to make it very clear, but it's not clear for most of the people. So we need to actually clarify to the engineering, product, and respective editorial team and management that this is the flow, right, and this is the requirement that Google is proposing, and we should do and we should not do that. That is why in the helpful content update they have clearly shared this information that the audience, the content should be intended, right, first hand experience, right, primary focus. There were other things like you should not do certain things, right, like automation on a certain thing, right, not adding much value, and you are just doing content without adding any value, right, just covering a topic without having a depth coverage, right. So every time is Google actually proposing this, right, they are saying that there has to have a trust, authority, and expert view, right, which is AAT, right. So they are saying that whatever you are contributing, if you don't have this, all of this, or maybe some of this, then we don't find a reason to give you a weightage against something, right, which is actually having all of this or some of this, right. So that is why, right, and the information, the content that we are providing has to be informative, original reporting, original research, original analysis, right. And also there's one underlying fact, right, if you actually go through the queries that they actually asked for, right? So they say this, that the conversation, the content has to be informative. Can you bookmark and share it to individual, right? Or in your group? Do your content will have the repeat visitors, right? Will you have the logged in users, right? And then the last information which says the credit card information. Can you share the credit card information to the site? So look at the trust level which is coming from a information to repeat visitors to logged in users to credit card information. Credit card information is the highest level of trust, right? So will the user or maybe set of user can provide this your their credit card, their the most personal information, right? It's not about their phone number, email ID, or maybe name. It's also about their trust, right? Is the content, is the site is actually trustworthy to get this information? If you are doing all of this, right, then we don't find any reason to give you and say this is a less helpful content, right? Content is actually helpful, right? And this gives a authority to the site also, right? And you should actually, and these are all basics, right? Google is not saying something which is out of the blue, right?
Sure.
This content update, right? You should actually present both sides of the story, right? Which is anyways a journalistic practice, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing this, right, it means that means, oh, you must do this because that's anyways a journalistic practice, right?
Right.
So
No,
that is the point. Okay?
Yeah, no, interesting. I mean, particularly the way you mentioned the hierarchies, right from information to the financial information, content to the financial information. I think a very interesting way to put it. I think the other piece is, and you might have partially addressed it already. So there's another thought, right, which of course is true based on what you are also saying. The helpful content update is being supported or is being furthered or strengthened by the September core update as well, right? So that said, what are your thoughts, observations on the September core update and some, call out do's, don'ts for news publishers here based on this core update which came in?
See, so core update is as we anyways discussed, right? So it may be possible, right, that Google has not got that early stage because they, as Danny wrote on their blog, right, they were working on this project since a decade or so, right? While they notified through Twitter just 10 days before the rollout will start, right? So they are anyways working on it and they are keep working on this, right? What they regularly saying, regularly communicating on Twitter, and understand this, Google helpful content was the area, right, where uh, there was a lot of written on Google blogs, but there are some areas which was not written, right? And some areas are still untouched, right? So that is why they're very vocal on Twitter, and that is why they responded back on a couple of tweets from my side also, right? To actually help everyone to understand what is the problem and where is the problem, right? So just like I asked one query, right, which is still unanswered, right, which actually says, so Google says that the duplicate content and the less authority content not going to help, right? So I can understand for lyrics and for ringtone sites, right? I'm not talking about digital news publishers only, right? Talking about other domains, right? So just like lyrics and ringtone sites, right, they most of the content is definitely uh, duplicate, right? While coding, tutorial, and formula blocks are not duplicate because the syntax will remain same. And if a early stage contributor is contributing and solving a problem of a diamond level or maybe gold level member, right, can happen, right? Where there is no expertise, the content is duplicate, but the content is relevant to the user, right? And the person's query gets solved. So how Google is actually going to in this area, right? What is their stake? That's what I asked, right? Where which query is unanswered, right? But definitely the feedbacks are being passed to them, right? And definitely they must be working on it, and they are working on multiple things, right? So coming back to your point, helpful content update, core update. Core update is a series of update, right, which actually started in 2018, right, and this is a series of update is going on, right. There are some strong signals for some publisher, there are some weak signals for some publisher, but what I have seen, the entire ecosystem remains same. It's a shift which is happening between like, among uh, business publishers to English, generally English publishers to Hindi publishers, right? So the pie is actually shifting from one segment to another segment, right? And one is getting benefited against others, right? What others shouldn't do, but they have done it, right? So they are getting devalued. Their content is getting devalued, and uh, the pie is being shifted to another segment, right? Whoever is the closest competition in that particular segment, maybe business news publishing, so maybe English news publishers, right? So this is happening entirely, right? And I'm telling you, after analyzing a lot of publishers, Indian and global, right? And then I can tell you that this is happening with the core update. So core update, product review update. Product review update is another thing, right, where Google is saying that your product has to be satisfying enough, has to have a additional information. It's not like that you collected this data from here, that you added this content from here, and you added some more content from here, and you made a page, right? You have to add a value, a layer on top of it, and it's not on one page, it's across your all pages, right? All product pages. And the you should share the pros and cons of the page, of the product also. The person should get that decision making understanding from these pages, right? If you are able to build that ecosystem, if you can build that product, right, then definitely this product and the domain authority will get enhanced, the product will get featured on search, and the search traffic will start coming in, right? So at a broader level, I can tell you, right, earlier when Google was going domain level, now Google bought, and the team is going product topic level also, right? And that is where they are saying. And also where you said that you have most of the people has said that they have not seen that update has actually happened or something, and the results are actually not. It's not like this is just like a hummingbird update, right? Where the results came in after even after years, right? So whatever publishers are actually contributing, or maybe something and doing, which Google is clearly saying you shouldn't do this, just like AI driven content, maybe automated content, maybe something else. There's a clear no, right? You should think on these direction, right? Where to continue doing this, avoid it, what the strategies should be for the newsroom, for the SEOs, right? So this will take some time to reflect. It won't like be just like code update, which actually happened and traffic dropped or traffic increased, right?
Sure, sure. So you did mention about your interactions on social media, and of course we know, and I have personally seen some of your, conversations on Twitter with other SEO experts. So I think one of them was across this word count for articles. That
Right.
was very interesting. So why don't you tell us that entire, context, how that came by, and what was the conclusion of it?
Right. So actually, what happened, right? Google used to have this problem. I would not say problem, as a error which says article too short, right? Where the article is less than 80 words, falls under different category in search, Google Search Console, right? Which where they say that this is an error and you need to fix it, right? It used to be the case, and newsrooms involved their practices in such a way that they have to pad up the content to complete it, right? And on the basis of this content, this information on Google support, right? There's an article happened on Sysdig, where there's a clear mention of 250 to 300 word or so, that you have to have the content like this, right? And less than 80 word is clearly no. Now they both are contradicting. Sorry, both are same, but the helpful content update is clearly saying that if you read somewhere that the Google is going to we are going to value a certain word count? So it's a clear no, we don't. Right. So now the both conversation is contradictory, right? That what Google search helpful content update is saying that length doesn't matter, while the other content is saying it matters. So that is why that was the query that I placed on Twitter, right? Where Danny responded back by saying that we don't actually do, and he stick with the recent helpful content update. Now, there was another question. Then what happens, right? So the summary of this discussion was, if news for the newsrooms, right? If you are actually contributing, let's say there's a news came in and you published an article which says that more details are waited, and publish that article, but the content, there's no update came in after, right? And you, but the news desk has to complete the article by 250 300 and then leave it and move uh, back to the regular newsroom practices. That is not required, right? If the content if the event has, or maybe the news is not turned up so well, right? You don't want to pad up the content, and you can leave it and you can move to the next one. It won't. So you need to be very conscious with the Google Search Console errors, right? That was the crux, right? It won't be like, and if you are not seeing any error with the length of the content, you are fine to go with, right? And it was the impact of the conversation that Google has changed their documentation, right? Which was a years ago they published it, right? So they've changed the documentation.
Yeah, I saw that. That was quite interesting. So I thought it would be, I mean, our audience might also have seen it already, but I thought it would be interesting to bring that up. So a slight detour. So this entire slew of recent updates, right? So they don't, do they have anything in specific to do with Core Web Vitals?
So definitely yes, because this is anyways the part of the so helpful content update, core update, product review update, or maybe anything update, right? All these page experience update also, right? These are all related, right? There's no, so you are doing this and you are not doing this, right? It's not that you are going to this. It's all about that user, right? What user is consuming, what is the page experience, are you seeing more of an ad, are you seeing content is not actually derailing with the conversation, right? If the you are consuming a content and you actually cut it short, right, and not in given a clear understanding and closure of the content, you understand this, a lot of article has to have means has to conclude it properly, right, rather just keeping it hanging. These are the some problems, right? And also the page experience is also a problem. So if users are not getting good page experience, right, where Core Web Vital is just a score, right? This is just a score. It's not like Core Web Vital, which says that you have to have this, the size and everything, the DOM size and largest contentful paint and LCP, and there is another part, right, which is CLS, right, which used to be earlier only 5% of the entire score, right, which is growing to 15%, which has grown in version 8 to 15%, which will grow further also, right? So what I'm telling you that the layout shift, the DOM size, the content elements of HTML and HTML to text to entire code base ratio, right? This all are which comes under technical SEO part, right, is important, will remain important, right? And Core Web Vital score, and definitely these signals, all green signals from Search Console are definitely good and yes position, right, in your quad graph, or yes. And whenever you are seeing red or increasing trend of errors, right, that's a clearly no. You have to deal with it. You have to invest your time, your engineering bandwidth to actually resolve it.
Sure. So what you're really saying is it is all about user experience, right? Whether we're looking at the rendering part, the technical part, the response time for the website, responsiveness across devices for that matter, or be it the quality of content? Is it giving something conclusive, or is it just leaving it abrupt halfway? So you're saying it's eventually all about the user experience, right? So yeah, so I think great points made, Chandan. So I think one other thing which you briefly mentioned some time back. So I, for one, have come across a lot of these platforms recently, right, which give you, which are quite incredible, though quite remarkable in the sense that they generate content on fly, right? So you give a keyword and they'll write a paragraph on it. So you give a URL, they'll write a 1,000-word article on it. So in the light of the recent content updates, how do you see this AI-driven content surviving, growing, not growing, dying out? What's your perspective on this?
So that's again a question, right, which went unanswered on Twitter, right? Because that was a straight question, right? It says that and Google tends to avoid uh, uh, problematic areas, right? So, but what happens, right? What I read so far, right? AI-driven content will not go into work, right? Because because AI-driven content is clearly understandable by a simple kind of, because the mechanism, it's so whatever the mechanism they are using, right? Google is pretty smart to capture it, right? And AI-driven content, maybe pattern content, maybe sorry to say, but SEO content also, right? Where we actually create a content, right? On a basis of that they will be cleared no. That is not going to, the actual content is going to fly only, right? And that is why, so Google is saying that, so means in a nutshell, there is no 2-minute Maggie noodle, right? So
Sure.
you have to invest in content, you have to invest in technology, product, right, to make it better, relevant, expert view, authority, trust, right? Then only the digital space will actually, so, and that's anyways a basic thing, right? If
Yeah.
I'm going to buy out something, right? Let's say something for my house, or maybe a shirt or something, right? I will take care of these factors, right? The
Yep.
brand should have authority, trust, and everything. Then only I will spend my money.
Sure. So while we are speaking, there's this question that has come up from Avinash B. Thanks, Avinash. Avinash says, sorry, I could not get it. Could you please come again about the word count, which Google considers healthy content?
So when I say word count, right? So there's no specific answer of the content length. That's a topical, right? So let's say in context of news only, right? Maybe some around there's a story broke out, right? And you published an article which says most details are weighted, kind of, and you are going to at the moment you will get that information, but the story was not qualifies to, actually it was not a kind of story which qualifies to a different story. It was just an update, right, which came in, and there's no interest also from search, but just for sake of article 2 short category, that this shouldn't fall in article 2 short category, we have to pad up the content by 250 to 300, maybe 350 word, and then leave the content and move to the next newsroom practice and go forward for this, right? Google is saying there is no need of padding the content, right? As long as this is not appearing in your Google search console area, you are fine with it.
Sure. So basically, you're saying there's no point padding up for the sake of padding up.
Yes.
Authentic, original content, the right informative information in the case of news that's going out, it doesn't have to be padded up for the sake of padding up, right? So, Vinash, I hope that answers your question. Please do feel free to pour in more questions, so as you get them along the way. I think one thing which a lot of marketers and SEOs and let's say more than marketers and SEOs, right? Just readers of search engine related updates or search engine related information ask is that we keep hearing about these updates, but isn't that Google forever has been anyway talking about more genuine, more authentic, more original content, news publishers or not? So what is new really that's happening in these updates? Or is there nothing new? Is it just that there are specific algorithms which are rolling out, which enforce the same point in greater detail?
So what is happening? These updates, right? These updates are, if you actually go through these updates very closely, right? There's nothing which is substantially different against maybe just like take an example of code update, right? So basics of the thing, right? So just keep your user centric, right? And start producing content, making product, and working on technology, or maybe working on SEO to give the right signals. What SEOs do, right? SEOs provide the right signals to search engine and also users, that the user should get that information, maybe based on the keyword, maybe based on the content, or maybe HTML or something. The art page is relevant against this query, right? Whatever is being searched for. So you should have your user centric, and if you are making the content user centric, your product user centric, right? You are anyways done, right? Done, and you need not to change your entire process and everything, right? Now, also, it doesn't mean that you should not be doing that SEO stuff, or maybe you should avoid these SEO best practices, and you're just doing that sake of user experience and all, because my user experience is good, but I'm not bothered about uh, SEO signals, right? Or maybe search engine signals, I'm not bothered, right? I will not place something in H1, I will not place my content in a right fashion, right? Closer to the header whatsoever, right? The entire practice, the technical SEO, what people we all are doing, right? If you're not doing this, right, and you're just working on this user experience, this is not going. You have to make a balance.
Sure. So probably those on-page parameters are like anyway hygiene, but user experience is the priority on top of the hygiene. Is what you're saying, right? So yeah, I mean that really makes a lot of sense. So I think while we were speaking, there was another question which came in from Avinash again, and he's saying, if it is something trending, then can it be a smaller content like 80 to 100 words?
So if you go closer to, and if you read the documentation very closely, right, Google has specifically had this question, right, and said this to avoid it, which says that if you are covering an article thing because just for sake of this is trending, right, is not going to help, right? So because they are saying that the depth coverage, you should have a cluster in place, right? It's not relevant for the breaking thing, right? So just like something broke out, right, and that's let's say some so there is some small TV actor, right, which is not, who is not in news, right, but that he committed suicide, right? Then that particular thing becomes an interest and thing, right, and become trending, right? That's anyways a long form content people will cover about it. So that is not the case, right? But I'm not able to collect this example, but definitely just because something is trending, right, and we don't have a depth coverage of it, right, and because this is trending and we have to cover it, right, it's not going to help according to this update.
Sure.
So then 80 to 100 words, or maybe 250 words, not going to help even.
Okay, sure. We got another question coming in, which is there any specific way to optimize for Google Discover?
That's still unanswered thing, right? Because most of the because there's very less documentation available on internet, right? But for Google Discover, we need to understand there is no separate bot for Google Discover and Google search, even in Google News, right? So the best practices of what we're doing for search, right, is definitely going to work on discover also. But there is another layer of personalization, um, good page, good image quality, and interest, right, is on top of the personalization is not working very strongly currently on search, but definitely working very strongly on feeds, right, on discover feeds. So that is why the answer of your question is, um, discover. So there is no clear guidelines of what to do, what not to do. But whatever we are doing as an for Google search, right, we should continue doing this,
Sure.
and some layer on top of it, right? We need to take care of this, right?
Sure. So, Chandan, when we were talking last week, you might recall about the authority piece, right? We were also talking about not just the story itself, but who writes the story, right? And
Yes.
that's a pertinent point that most of us, also, of course, learned audience also knows. But just wanted to hear from you because you put it very nicely the other day when we were speaking about, the person who's writing the story and not just the story.
So what happens? This authority, whenever we say that the person is actually expert or maybe authority, having that authority on the particular topic, right? How Google bot will understand. Right? So let's say I have published uh, roughly a 3,000 article on a site, right? And the pagination gets bought that understanding that my author page will have this 3,000 word, right? But what topics is all about, they have to actually crawl all the pages and then make a cluster, right? So Google is also doing these activities to understand this, that Google is doing all these activities to optimize their crawl budget also, right? Because they need to because if we give them not a clear signal, that then to make that a particular decision and make my page rank on maybe 17th or 27th or maybe 7th position, right? Only if they will crawl the entire page, all of the pages, right, and then they will make a decision that this particular thing relates to this, right? Or maybe author contributes to these many topics, right? While if we give that a particular bio, which says that the me actually having the experience of this year, right? And this is also very important, right? How much experience I have. So let's say just a contributor, started contributing in this system, right, since 5 years or maybe since 25 years, right? How Google bot will understand this, right? Maybe I have a authority, I have written so many articles on a certain website, and then I moved out to a certain to a different organization, right, where there I don't have a 3,000 pages to actually Google can crawl and give my content authority, right? Then how this will happen? So that bio will give a very good role to understand user, that user as in for bot and for users also, right? What users should expect, right? So that's the clear hierarchy, right? I read somewhere which says that the author should clearly mention that what all segments or what all genres they are contributing with, how many years of experience that particular person have, maybe what that person do, right? What their interest also, and how people can follow individual, right, on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, right? So this gives an understanding that the individual is not a machine, right? It's a person, right? That is one. Second is the number of years experience, and that gives authority, right? Expert says that those topics that we mentioned there, and the interest which says that this will be definitely different because my interest will definitely uh, different against your interest or maybe someone else's interest, right? So that's a particular bio will give a authority to a person who is contributing from since 25 years and just started on a website, and the person who is just is contributing to the website since 2 years and having a higher number of articles on their author pages, right? So that particular, so Google start understanding with these signals, right? And definitely you cannot fake it, right? If you are actually doing this, right, you cannot say this that I'm just the writing style that Google also saying that the content has to be quality checked, right? The editors should do the quality check, right? The contribution shouldn't look like that you collected this information from one to the three site and just added a one two paragraph on top of it and then publish them and you will get that authority. It won't be like this, right?
Sure. Right. Interesting insights, Chandan. I think another question has come in from Vikram Chevale, and Vikram asks, do backlinks work for media websites?
Yes. So for backlinks, so when Google says that backlinks and keywords in the URL and something, right, that don't work and we don't give that weightage, right? But according to my experience, I have seen, right, there is a weightage for it, right? Because how the leading publishing business website against a just a blog has been just started, maybe just a website started, right, with the same number of contributors, let's say same number of the same number of reporters, right? How after 5 months or maybe 6 months down the line, how Google will actually give weightage to both of them? Definitely based on the backlinks, based on authority, and how you've actually covered topics according to the time, like you have covered that article, right? Maybe 5 articles on a certain, just like Elizabeth demise, right? Or something else. So you have to you have to cover the topic, right? And that's anyways is the basic function of Google News, right? The Google News is actually saying that when you publish an article and particular top, let's say there's a topic, right? Maybe Osama death or something, right? And you have covered that article and the small blogs are covering an article and you are doing a follow-up article, you are covering that article through an opinion, right? Which is definitely not SEO friendly, but having a very depth understanding and say on a certain topic, right? That gives a lot of benefit to that to building that authority, right? And opinions are very good in making your backlinks. So that is why, again, that's a original research, original contribution that comes to, so everything is coming around the guidelines that they are sharing with us.
Sure. I think there's another question which says, and this has come from Muhammad Rafi. How do I get my article on Google News and Stories?
So Google, so my article on stories go, so I can understand, right? So to actually decrypt this question, right, which says that how will get ranking, right, on and how will get traffic on our articles, right? So that's a very simple basic newsroom guidelines, right, which is available on Google support, right? We have to follow the content, the technical and the SEO based guidelines, and we need to submit that particular domain as a news publisher under news publisher center, right, to get that verified that this having the news is a news publishing website, right? Once that publication get approved, right, once the publication get approved, this the domain get uh, ranking sorry, authority for a news website, right? And and then after you can get started.
Sure, Chandan. While more questions are coming in, I just wanted to hear from your thoughts. I just want to know your thoughts on, summary thoughts on entire thing of updates, do's and don'ts. If there are a few final takeaways you wanted to leave the audience with, while we are, of course, welcoming other questions to come in. So if you want to take a couple of minutes to, share your summary thoughts while the rest of the questions come in.
So definitely, yes. definitely true, right? The point is Google pushing individuals, right? That uh, you have to. So that's the very first line from this update also, and from other updates also. You have to work on people first approach, not search engine first, right? So that's a clear identification that something is trending. You should not cover it, right? If there is an interest, you can cover. So there's a two different scenarios, right? Site-wise content, and also what they're keep emphasizing that if you are doing a certain thing which we are saying that you need to avoid it, but you keep continuing this, that the impact will not be content level, not with section level, the effect will be a site-wide, right? So that this is very important and really important that the newsrooms has to rethink and reanalyze their strategies, right, to approach if something is trending, right? And also we so that's a random theory that Google still is not very satisfied the documentation that they have provided and the results that they are seeing, right? So that is why you take this as a note that on September 9 the SCU closed, while the core update started on September 12, right after third or fourth day. So that is one observation, right? The second is to just everyone, right, to settle down that there's update and there's another update came in, right? So to just share the focus to the different direction, right? That this happened and now something else is happening. So that is one. Next is SEO industry wide. Everyone has to be very focused, right? We need to be very focused on these updates and help individuals, right? Newsrooms, product teams, engineering teams, management, right? That the focus, the everyone has to take care of their piece, right? Digital newsroom in such a way that you should do that user-centric approach, right? That's another important thing and important takeaway for everyone. Rest of the thing is anyways written on the documentation, right? Stay no for the automation, right? Just covering trending thing. Word count is not matter, and also the trust level factor that I already explained, right? If you have this kind of
Sure.
definitely.
Chandan, a couple more questions. Soumitra Banerjee, thanks Soumitra, says, how many articles daily are essential for a valued news website?
So that's not, so there's no answer of this, right? Because that's a very topical, right? You can be NYT, you can be Washington Post, right? You can publish thousands of articles also in a day. You can stick with one article, very journalistic, crisp content on a certain thing, which is absolutely, and you can publish a 2000 word article, and that will also work. It's all about that how you want to frame your newsroom, right? And what all genres you need to cover and how much expertise you have in every genre, right? Definitely original contribution will help, so definitely wired contribution not going to, but just getting this wired input from something and curation, doing a curation, right, not going to work. So you have to add a value on top of it, right? That's very important. Google is keep saying, right, let's say there's a list of 5-7 inputs, and an agency has done an article, an agency and every news publisher subscribe to that agency, right? So that input everyone consumed, right? Now facts, quotes, figures can remain same, but the entire content and the value you have to add on top of it, right? Then only it's a separated, it's a segregated against others, right? So as a point of number, right, how much you can contribute originally, right? Google loves original content.
Sure. So value is the differentiator.
Values is differentiator, and your intended audience, right? Your audience is really important.
Sure, sure. There's another question which says, and unfortunately we don't have the name of the person that says an anonymous attendee. So the question is, does Google core update or ranking update also affect the website index?
Update of, sorry, please come again.
I'll repeat the question. Does Google core update or ranking update also affect the website indexing?
So indexing is altogether different thing, right? Indexing has a different scenario, right? While rankings, positioning, change in your volatility, search volatility, adjustments, right? Relevancy adjustments also that. That's another term which is coined uh, only on Twitter only. I read it right from Glenn Gap's one documentation which says relevancy adjustment. So everything is altogether different, but indexing is altogether different, right? Indexing is something else where we uh, if I understood this question correctly, uh, the moment the article gets published and the moment Google is indexing it, right, there's a gap, right? If this is a gap, then you need to understand that why this is happening, right? If the relevancy adjustment happened, if the with this update, with the code update, right, is your search console errors gone up rapidly, right? And Google is not getting signals after crawling the website that the content is crawlable but not indexable, and we will index it in a certain span of time, maybe 5 hours, maybe 6 hours, maybe 24 hours, or maybe few minutes, right? That all depends on relevance, trust, and your legacy. So code updates are not actually hints you to add de-index any website, but this relevancy shift happens, right? Where some websites goes in a white area, or some white listing thing, right? Some area is a gray listing and some is a black listing, right? I'm not saying that publishers, but definitely this is important, right, to understand.
Sure. I think we have time for one last question, whereas there are a lot of questions streaming in. Thank you so much for the interest from the audience. So Saurabh Javale asks, how do Google viral videos rank many times with the same exact video varied in ranking position?
So viral videos, see, the content is same, right? It's all about, say, this is an answer which is the same for anything, right? When a certain topic, right, out of 7 stories those are appearing in news top box, and maybe 5 stories which is appearing lower to the first news, lower to the top box on the first page. I'm talking about desktop ranking, and on mobiles it's roughly same, right? There's a top box conversion and there's a, so it's all about that. So Google, it's come under Google ranking thing, right? And there are more than 200 factors. Trust me on this. There are more than 200 factors, ranking factors on a certain thing, right? Not only 200. So most of them are technical, domain authority, trust, and all. And with these updates, this list is actually growing, right? So it's not specific answer of certain thing, right? Someone has to have a detailed understanding, right? Why something is ranking on top of anything, right? But definitely, if you're having a good content, and then if your content is definitely better against others, you have the depth coverage of the video that is being talked about, right? And you have the follow-up content also, that you can actually make a cluster. You have done the hyperlinking correct, and you have followed all those best practices, right? I think uh, it's not a time, it's not a area where Google will not give you a trust factor, right, higher than competition.
Sure, Chandan. We've just ran out of time,
Yes.
but thank you so much for all the wonderful audience who've come in and poured in so many questions, for being engaged with us for the hour. And I would request you to please send any more questions which we may not have been able to answer, or any other questions that you get now, to marketing@quintype.com. That is marketing@quintype.com, and we would be glad to share Chandan's perspectives on your questions. Finally, Chandan, thank you so much for your time from your busy schedule. It's been wonderful speaking to you. Thank you so much for coming in. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, and thanks to you, everyone, right, who've joined and placed these meaningful questions, right? Thank you.
Bye.